I told you so! Underworld Breach has utterly dominated Modern since the unbanning of Mox Opal in December, but no longer because, say it with me now, Underworld Breach is banned. Or at least it will be banned in about a week from today. You see, I am releasing this video about the ban, which will happen early because I'm going on a much-needed vacation. But don't worry, I am 100% confident that Underworld Breach will be banned 1 week from today, and so is our head writer, Jesse Robkin. So we felt it would be fine to release this video early, because I guarantee you, Breach is going to be banned. At the regional championship in Portland a month ago, the deck put up a staggering 58% win rate. And a little over a week ago at the second US regional championship in Charlotte, the deck was 23% of the total field, 30% of the day 2 metagame, 50% of the top 32, and 75%, that's right, 75% of the top 8. You heard that right. 6 of the top 8 players at Regional Championship Charlotte were playing Grinding Breach combo. The finals came down to Breach versus Breach, and the winner of the whole event? Why, it was none other than Tellurian Community College's own head writer, Jesse Robkin, who also wrote this script, as well as, "Congratulations, Jesse. We're all very proud of you." Temur Grinding Breach has a legitimate claim to be one of the 3 most broken modern decks of all time, along with Bant Nadu and Hogak Dredge, and honestly, this shouldn't have been a surprise. I even said as much in my video on December's Unbans that Grinding Breach with Mox Opal was a deck I was legitimately worried about. No, look, really. Station Breach with Mox Opal is a deck I am legitimately worried about in post-unban Modern. That said, Modern Horizons 3 gave us Meltdown, and this is still a Force of Vigor and Leyline of the Void format, so maybe it'll all be fine. It'll all be fine, right? Right? And you know who wrote that script? That's right, Jesse Robkin. And now, 3 months later, the Modern format is on fire, and it's all Grinding Breach's fault. But don't worry, because Underworld Breach is banned. Again, a week from today, but it's going to be banned at the BNR announcement on March 31st. In fact, I am so confident that there is a 100% chance that Underworld Breach gets banned in Modern on March 31st that, if I'm wrong, and I won't be, I'll update the title of this video to "The Professor is a Moron." Heck, I'll name it "The Professor is a Moron and Jesse Robkin is too." I'll even change the thumbnail to be that of me wearing a dunce hat. But I'm not gonna have to do this because Breach will be banned. How am I so certain? How do I know that it's Breach that will be banned and not, say, Mox Opal getting banned again? Well, Jesse?
What?
Oh, don't you feel it's very obvious that Breach is going to be banned?
Oh yeah, totally obvious.
Yeah, well, I'm going to explain why, using the words that you wrote me for this script. Thank you for that, by the way.
Hey, me words, that's 2 words.
Oh, and I got to do the ad, which you also wrote.
Oh yeah, those are 2 words as well.
They are. If you're not already familiar with the Grinding Breach combo deck, you can check out Jesse's deck list and build a deck of your own on Archidekt, sponsor of today's video. Archidekt is the best deck building database for Magic the Gathering players who appreciate the finer things in life. It's a streamlined visual deck building tool with an intuitive interface, allowing players to create and manage their decks with ease. Just look at that spectacular mana curve on Jesse's deck. Those gorgeous sketched Urza's sagas. Look at these retro versions of Mishra's Bauble and Mox Amber from the Brothers' War. Only a player of exquisite taste and a brilliant strategic mind could have assembled a deck list as precise and beautiful as this one, and only a deck building website is devoted to visual deck building could display that deck list in such breathtaking fashion. Though Jesse's Breach deck is a modern deck, Archidekt is compatible with all constructed deck formats, from Commander to Modern to Pauper. Keep your collection organized and up to date using their My Collection tool. Archidekt also lets you compare prices from different card sellers so you can always find the best deal. Check out to see what your entire deck would cost if you bought it from your favorite card sellers online, or just look at individual card prices. Playtest ideas before spending money on new cards using the playtesting tool. Keep up with your playgroup's decks by following other players and engaging in discussions about deck strategies. Architect is accessible from any device, whether it be your laptop or your phone, meaning you can easily build and manage your decks on the go, such as while you're at your local game store or even at a Magic Con. Just head on over to architect.com/Tolarian for an introduction to the site and how it works. Architect walks you through some of the features the site offers, and you can check out some featured decks such as your content creators' favorite decks and recent Commander precons. Again, that's architect.com/Tolarian just to get started. Thank you, Architect, for sponsoring this video. So how exactly does Grinding Breach work, and what makes it such a terribly powerful deck? Grinding Breach is an artifact-based combo deck centered around the synergy between Underworld Breach from Theros Beyond Death and Grinding Station, a weird, poorly templated uncommon from way back in 5th Dawn. Breach gives all the spells in your graveyard escape, with the added cost of exiling 3 cards from your yard, while Grinding Station mills a player for 3 every time you sacrifice an artifact, and untaps whenever an artifact enters play. If you combine these 2 cards with any 0-mana artifact, you can mill your whole deck, escaping your 0-mana artifact using the spare escape fodder that is created when Grinding Station mills. If that 0 is a Moxen of some kind, either Mox Amber or post-unban Mox Opal, you also generate a mana each time you demonstrate the loop, meaning you'll have, depending on the size of your library, between 10 and 20 mana of whatever color your Mox produces. You can also generate Storm as you do this, meaning you can grape shot your opponent for lethal, or, once your library is empty, escape Thassa's Oracle or Jace Wielder of Mysteries for the win.
So, when Underworld Breach was first previewed in Theros Beyond Death, many Magic the Gathering players asked the question, ooh, I always wanted to say that.
I don't know if you should, it's kind of my catchphrase, you know?
Okay, but like, if I was ever going to say it, wouldn't this be the time for me to say it?
Fair point, it resolves, but don't make a habit of it.
Many Magic the Gathering players asked the question, is Underworld Breach plus Grinding Station a viable combo in Modern?
That is a good question, is it?
Boy, is it. I personally set out to test this question on my own, goldfishing the combo a lot using proxied versions of the cards, and it didn't take long for me to determine that not only was Grinding Breach a viable combo in Modern, but in tandem with Mox Opal, it might turn out to be one of the most broken combos in Modern history. That's no exaggeration. It was not just easy to kill with the deck on turn 3, but I was finding that turn 2 kills were a lot more common than I thought they'd be as well. I'd even found it possible to kill on turn 1 if I drew enough Mox Opals in my opening hand. As Theros Beyond Death preview season wore on, I became certain that this combo was busted, and I was so excited about the possibility of being the one to put the deck on the map. No one knew who I was at the time, I certainly wasn't writing for the prof, so I thought this could be my big break. Then Mox Opal was banned 4 days before Theros Beyond Death became legal in Modern. I tried to make the combo work with Mox Amber replacing Mox Opal, but it was significantly less powerful. It wasn't until we got Ragavan in Modern Horizons 2 that we had enough good, cheap, legendary creatures to enable Mox Amber, and even then, the Breach deck was rarely ever more than a niche player in Modern.
This is why when Mox Opal was unbanned, we figured Breach would be broken. Now, granted, the format as a whole has gotten a lot more powerful in the past 5 years of multiple direct-to-modern sets. That was the entire logic behind the Opal unban after all. But fundamentally, a combo deck as consistent, as fast, and as mana efficient as Breach combo, especially one that enables Moxen, is always going to be a very dangerous thing to have around, regardless of the power level of the format.
Of course, when I wrote that line back in December that I'm legitimately worried about Breach, that wasn't because I was like secretly thinking because I'm gonna win a regional championship with it.
Yeah, but that would have been a sick called shot though. But given that Breach was fine before the unbanning, many Magic the Gathering players asked the question, why ban Breach now? Why not just ban Mox Opal again? Moxen essentially break the 1 land per turn rule that is integral to balancing Magic's power level. All Moxen beyond the original 5 have some kind of drawback or stipulation designed to limit their strength. But because a Mox is itself a broken category of card, it's really hard to design a drawback that works. Either the drawback is enough to render the Mox unplayable, or it's not a significant enough drawback to prevent the Mox from being fundamentally broken. But Mox Opal is a weird one. I actually do believe that for all its power level, Mox Opal is actually fine if it's being played in an all-in artifact deck. If you're playing cards like Ornithopter and Arcbound Worker or whatever else in order to enable Mox Opal, Opal, then I think that's a really effective way to balance the card's power level. Not only does it limit the strength of the spells you're casting with your extra mana, but it also makes you more susceptible to powerful hate cards like Meltdown, Force of Vigor, and Stony Silence. Where you run into problems is when there are enough generically powerful cheap standalone artifacts in Modern to easily turn on Metalcraft without going all in on artifacts. And then when you look at the answers like Meltdown, Force of Vigor, Stony Silence, well, those cards can be good against Breach in certain spots, but not to the point of totally shutting off the deck. We just watched Breach light up the regional championship, where every deck in the room had upwards of 12 sideboard cards for Breach. I don't even think the dominance of Breach over the past couple months is evidence that unbanning Mox Opal was a mistake. Maybe it was, but don't get it twisted. Underworld Breach is fundamentally broken. It is the problem. It's already been banned from both Pioneer and Legacy. It's on the Game Changers list in Commander, for goodness sake. So yeah, now it's being banned in Modern. I see a pattern here. The ability to recast your spells from the graveyard over and over again is simply a broken thing to do in this game. Yes, without Mox Opal, the broken thing Breach did in Modern wasn't consistent, resilient, or fast enough to be problematic in Modern yet, but the operative word here is yet. Underworld Breach was a ticking time bomb in Modern. It was only a matter of time before a new, cheap enabler was printed to send the whole format up in flames. I also don't believe Wizards of the Coast was even surprised by what happened after Opal was unbanned. Contrary to what certain YouTube comment creators might suggest, Wizards R&D is really good at their job. My guess is that they decided Mox Opal was a card that would make Modern more fun in the long term, and they were okay with needing to axe a card that's been banned everywhere else in order to give Opal the time and space to prove itself in the format. And before you say, well, if that's the case, why didn't they just ban Breach at the same time as unbanning Mox Opal? Think about it for a moment. If the BNR announcement had said the One Ring and Amped Raptor is banned, Splinter Twin, Faithless Looting, Green Sun Zenith, and Mox Opal are unbanned, oh, and by the way, we're banning Breach too, the community would have been up in arms. That's because preemptively banning a card because it could be broken with a card you want to unban just isn't how R&D operates, nor should they. I suppose that's easy for Jessie to write, of course, since Wizards of the Coast choosing not to ban Breach in December gave her that regional championship trophy. But honestly, when you really look at it, Breach had never been a problem in Modern, because it had never been legal alongside Mox Opal. But even if there was a high likelihood that the two cards being legal at the same time would break Underworld Breach, it's still worth seeing that actually play out before you ban a card. As it stands, I believe Mox Opal might be okay in Modern as long as there aren't any homes for it outside of more all-in artifact decks. If that proves impossible to avoid, then, well, it may indeed be time for Mox Opal to go. Again. I also think the Mox Opal experience tells us a lot about Modern unbans moving forward. When Breach is banned on March 31st, and it will be banned on March 31st, and Mox Opal will not be, it'll show us that Wizards of the Coast is willing to incur a bit of a risk in regards to their unban process. And that's a great thing. If anything, Wizards has historically been way too risk-averse with its unbans over the years. It's why it took 1 billion years for them to unban Splinter Twin, and why, by the time they finally did, the card was utterly unplayable in Modern. In this modern age of Modern, with powerful direct-to-modern sets that bring entire pre-constructed decks into the format in the form of Energy, Eldrazi, and whatever else, I think it's a very good thing for Wizards to take bigger swings with their unbans. I mean, come on, if Modern's gonna have a high power level, then let's actually go for that. Lean into it. So can we just unban Glimpse of Nature already and Umezawa's Jite? Ponder, Seething Song, and Blazing Shoal? Are these still a problem? Why does Punishing Fire or Hypergenesis still need to be banned? Can we unban Cloud Post? Heck, can we unban Deathrite Shaman and Dig Through Time? And craziest question of all, can we unban Skullclamp? Yeah, 3-4 years ago, asking questions like that might have sounded ridiculous, but now? Don't just react automatically. Look at the average power level in Modern. Why can't we have some of our old toys back? Maybe a steady wave of unbans over the next few announcements will breathe fresh life into many Magic the Gathering players' favorite format. Format diversity by way of many returns of many different historical kings. If some of these unbans mean we need to ban certain egregious power level outliers in order to keep everything balanced, then so be it. It was probably time for a lot of these cards to go anyway. There's another thing I want to talk about when we're talking about Mox Opal and Breach, and that's that the scheduled ban announcements needs to change. 3 months is way too long of a wait time between bans. Honestly, the whole gimmick about me doing this video about how Underworld Breach is going to be banned in a week, why not just ban it now? We all know it needs to go. What are you waiting for? Look at the past 3 ban announcements. Nadu was banned at the end of the summer, way too late. It was obvious the card was broken almost immediately, but because of the timing of the ban announcements, we had to slog through a month and a half of a dead format where the only good thing you could do was play Nadu. Then, once Nadu was banned, Boros Energy and the One Ring were suddenly far and away the best things you could do in Modern. It was immediately obvious that the One Ring needed a ban, but we had to wait until December before it finally happened. Then December rolls around and the Ring is finally banned, but then Mox Opal was unbanned and Breach became the best thing to do in Modern, so now we have to wait until the end of March before anything changes with that. What do you think is going to happen once Breach is banned? Will Eldrazi be the next broken thing? Will we have to wait until June to fix the format yet again? To be clear, I think there's a nice feature of scheduled BNRs. Surprise BNRs can really hurt, especially for expensive cards like the One Ring or Mox Opal. It's certainly frustrating to put time into a deck for a big tournament coming up, only to have it banned out from under you with very little time to come up with a new choice for your event. But 3 months is way too long a time to wait between BNRs. I think there's a very clear and obvious middle ground we could reach. Why can't we have, say, a standing monthly BNR announcement? Maybe the majority of them will have no changes, but if we know that at the beginning or end of every month, there will be an opportunity to address problematic cards, then that might instill more player confidence in Magic's various constructed formats. And as we hopefully unban more cards in Modern, we'll need a better, faster mechanism in place to fix any metagame issues these unbans cause. But whether you agree that we shouldn't have to wait until March 31st for Underworld Breach to be banned, or you think it's just fine to stick to the scheduled BNR announcements, one thing I think we all can agree upon is that Underworld Breach has to go. And it's going to go 1 week from the release of this video, I guarantee, and if I'm wrong, you know what happens then. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Check back and see if I do. But of course, that is just us who are extremely confident that Breach will be banned in Modern, and now we want to hear from you.
Yeah, do you think Breach will be banned in Modern? What about Mox Opal? Should that be banned too, or in addition, or instead of?
Or how about unbannings? Is there anything in Modern that maybe should be unbanned? What do you think, Jesse? Any unbans? Did we do a video on that?
I think we just did the Commander unbans.
We did the Commander unbans, so want to write a script about what should be unbanned in Modern?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
What's up? It's Shuffle Up and Play with decks that Tomer has built for us. Tomer built the entire pod for how much money, Tomer?
$25 each, so total $100.
Do you notice how he built the decks for all of us? And
I did notice that.
Did not rig it.
It looks kind of sus, Tomer.
This isn't petty prof anymore. It's proper play prof. All the P.
So much PP.
So much PP.
He's showing weakness. Get him.
You've played your last shambling ghast.
Because it's Commander, yeah.
Yes, correct.
That's am I going to win next turn type face.
Oh, God, no. You didn't build it that good.
He just called you a zoomer. You gonna take that?
Because of that, I'm gonna swing it prof.
Oh, and high five. You rock.
Thanks.